So, today we're going to dig into a really fascinating and honestly a pretty radical proposal for the future of Gaza. Now, forget everything you know about traditional aid, which, usually just focuses on rebuilding what was already there. The material we're breaking down today suggests something totally different, a complete and total reboot. It's a blueprint for installing a brand new operating system from the ground up, and it's all designed around one core idea, making peace the most profitable option for everyone involved. All right, let's get into it. So, according to this framework, the real problem, the absolute root of it all, isn't a lack of stuff. It's not about resources. It's about how we think. On one side, you've got this scarcity mindset, this deep-seated belief that there's a limited pie, right? And that, of course, just leads to conflict. But on the other side, there's the abundance reality. And this is the idea that we actually have the tech. We have the resources for everybody. The real bottleneck is our own mindset and, well, just bad logistics. Which, of course, leads to the million-dollar question this whole plan is trying to answer. I mean, if the problem is the software running in people's heads, how on earth do you even start to install an update for an entire society? Well, the path to this new reality, according to the plan, starts somewhere you would probably never, ever guess. It doesn't kick off with big infrastructure projects or political meetings, nope. It starts with something way more basic. Okay, so this infographic you see here, this is our roadmap. It's called the Path to Peace, and it lays out a 4-step blueprint that's designed to systematically shift a whole society from that scarcity thinking over to a mindset of abundance and self-reliance. Let's break down the steps. And this is where things get really interesting. The journey starts in a totally unexpected place. Step 1, secure personal health. Before anything else, before buildings, before politics, the plan says you solve basic nutrition with something called the miracle bar. The logic is actually pretty simple, right? You can't build a stable society if people are fundamentally insecure, if they're worried about where their next meal is coming from. Only after you've laid that foundation, then you move on to restoring the land, building farms, and finally creating totally self-sufficient communities. Okay, so once that foundational path is in place, the Gaza 2.0 operating system itself is built on 3 main pillars. You can think of it as the hardware, the software, and the economic engine that makes the whole thing run. So the first pillar is the hardware. The idea here is to treat a devastated area like a blank slate. I mean, instead of trying to patch up old, broken down systems, you build a model state from scratch. You deploy the latest tech, we're talking autonomous vehicles, AI-driven logistics, creating this hyper-efficient infrastructure that isn't held back by any of the old baggage. Next, you need the software. And this is a framework called PCMRI. It's a mouthful. It stands for Predictive Covenantal Reality and Moral Identity. But what it really boils down to is a system of clear, agreed-upon rules and shared values. It's meant to be a trust layer, a foundation of accountability that makes everything predictable. And that predictability, well, that is absolutely critical if you want to attract serious global investment. And that leads us right to pillar number 3, the economic engine. This is the peace for profit model, and it's designed to create what's called a flywheel effect. The goal is to completely transform the region from what investors see as a high-risk zone into a sovereign innovation zone, a place where stability and prosperity literally just feed off each other and keep growing. And this table shows you exactly how that flywheel is supposed to get spinning. First, that ethical software, the PCRMI, creates moral legitimacy. It lowers the risk. That, in turn, attracts a huge inflow of capital to build out all these new systems. Then that investment creates advanced jobs, new supply chains, and real prosperity. And as that prosperity grows, peace just becomes the most profitable, most logical choice for everyone. It becomes a self-reinforcing loop. So you might be asking, okay, great idea, but who on earth is actually going to build all this? Well, the plan doesn't just throw out ideas. It actually names a potential execution engine, a strategic alliance of some of the biggest names in tech and logistics. And the infographic gets really specific about the roles here. Google, it says, would be tasked with the big mindset shift, literally reshaping consciousness on a global scale. Bezos would come in and handle all the logistics, using Amazon's insane expertise to get anything anywhere it needs to be. And Musk would be the builder, using Tesla and SpaceX to create the future-proof infrastructure. We're talking energy, transport, even housing for these new communities. And to keep this from sounding like total science fiction, the source material points to real-world conversations that would need to happen. It cites this ILTV news report about a call between Prime Minister Netanyahu and Elon Musk. The point is that these high-level talks about AI, autonomous vehicles, and Tesla's potential involvement in the region are presented as a key part of the vision, which, well, it lends a certain layer of plausibility to the whole tech side of the plan. So this brings us to the core challenge of this entire proposal. Because, look, you can have the most advanced technology in the world, the shiniest hardware imaginable, but for any operating system to actually run, you need compatible hardware and software. And this is really where the rubber meets the road, because the sources present two very different visions for that software, that moral, ethical layer. One view sees this PCRMI framework as a pragmatic economic tool, a trust layer for global capital that's built on accountability. But another source frames it in deeply spiritual terms, calling it a kingdom restoration based on divine principles like forgiveness, hope, trust, and agency. And those are two fundamentally different ways to go about building a shared identity. And that leaves us right here with the final critical question. What's the biggest hurdle to a plan like this? Is it building the futuristic cities, the autonomous trucks, and the high-tech farms? Or is the real challenge, the truly difficult part, installing the shared human software of trust, of hope, and of a common moral purpose? That's the question right at the very heart of the Gaza 2.0 proposal.